Your Excellency, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and Ms. Ban, Your Excellency, Mr. Hamid Al-Bayati and Ms. Al-Bayati, Permanent Representative of Iraq, Your Excellency Peter Thompson, Acting President of the General Assembly. Well, thank you, Ambassador, for organizing this panel on the role of the Secretary General and the United Nations in the empowerment of women. It is happening as a very good moment, I would say, as we are meeting a year after the creation of UN Women. UN Women was conceived as an entity to change the lives of women and girls on the ground, and catalyzing action by the United Nations and other stakeholders to make a difference in their everyday experience. The world in which we currently live presents both challenges but also opportunities for women and girls' empowerment. Ongoing adverse impacts of the world financial and economic crisis, the volatile food and energy prices and food insecurity, the lack of investment in rural development and agriculture, and demographic changes have exacerbated the disadvantages and inequalities faced by women and girls, especially in rural areas. Political changes in the Arab world and in other parts of the globe have put women on the front line, mitigating the economic and social cost to their families and communities. But although there has been some progress, women's political participation and influence remains low, with only 19.8% of parliamentarians being women worldwide. We just launched last week, during the CSW with the Interparliamentary Union, with the IPU, the new map, where we compare 2010 to 2012, January to January. And in 2010 was 19%. So I don't know if we can say progress on 0.8%, but something is something. But at the same time, women have benefited from some increases in economic opportunities. For instance, women's employment accounts for 70% of the 27 million jobs in export processing zones. The expansion of the ICT sector has created greater employment opportunity for skilled women, notably in countries such as Barbados, Jamaica, the Philippines, Malaysia, and India. Women remain heavily engaged in the manufacture of ready-made garments, making up more than 80% of workers in Bangladesh and more than 75% in Kenya. Higher female employment in export has been accompanied by wage gains in countries such as China, Bangladesh, and Morocco. Well, this is positive. Unfortunately, working conditions in export processing zones are often poor, marked by low wages, gender wage inequalities, strongly long hours, and job instability. And the recent crisis poses great challenges to women's access to employment. For instance, in Cambodia, 18% of the total garment workforce, which is mostly women, lost their jobs from October 2008 to May 2009. And because of the increasing importance of wage employment for women, we, together with the Global Compact, have engaged the private sector through the Women's Empowerment Principles to make corporate practices more responsive to women's rights. At UN Women, we firmly believe that women are key agents of change, and their leadership and participation is needed to shape responses to development challenges and recent crises. We know that increasing women's numbers and influence in decision-making brings about not only more gender-equal society, but also stronger societies for all. Women's political empowerment is strongly dependent on their economic empowerment. Economic empowerment provides women with greater social status and can drive the social consensus for their political empowerment. So this is why we believe that economic empowerment and political empowerment are the two mutually supportive foundation stones of gender equality. And it is why we have made women's economic and political empowerment our top priorities. And these two interconnected dimensions of empowerment, grounded in a human rights framework, are prerequisites for women to realize their rights in other dimensions, such as freedom from gender-based violence. And of course, if women are more powerful politically and economically, also the role they will play in the agenda for peace and security will be bigger. Excellencies, distinguished guests, we are already showing tangible results in these two areas. And I would like to share with you some highlights as examples of what UN Women and the UN system as a whole can do to empower women. The government of Moldova is rolling out the UN Women model of Joint Information and Services Bureau throughout the country. This one-window model brings together over 9 service providers on employment, labor market, social protection, business, agriculture, development, legal and land-related issues to coordinate the provision of information on economic opportunities and services to rural women. The UN system through the UNDAF will provide support to the initiative. In India, since 2009, the Dalit Women's Livelihoods Accountability Initiative, supported by the Fund for Gender Equality, has contributed to an expansion of Dalit women's access to the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act and Scheme. The Dalit women or women of scheduled castes face the triple discrimination of gender, caste, and class. Between 2009 and 2011, the participation in work increased from 2018, in all 8 districts of the program to over 14,000. Dalit women now have bank accounts registered in their names to receive their salary, and they are unionized to defend their rights. In Morocco, women supported through UN Women Partners receive recognition of their entitlements to collective land rights and to the proceeds from the sale of such land. In 2011, women of Ulet Uji, I hope I did not say something wrong, obtained compensation because of a sale of a collective land. During the recent development in the Arab region, we have been able to quickly get essential expertise and experiences from across the world to Egypt and Tunisia, providing access to good practice in promoting gender equality in institution building, including electoral reform and constitution formation. In Timor-Leste, UN Women supports a regular consultation between the Women's Parliamentary Group of East Timor and local elected women leaders to discuss issues and challenges facing rural women and how parliamentarians can work to move rural women's agendas forward. In Mexico, the program Strengthening Women's Political Participation and Promoting an Economic Empowerment Agenda, SUMA initiative, implemented by civil society organizations with support from UN Women, has reached out to 109,000 potential women candidates for states, parliament, and high-level public offices. We have been given a specific mentorship and training to 538 women. We have engaged with political parties, the electoral justice system, state government, legislative bodies, academia, the media, women's organizations, as well political women leaders and entrepreneurs. In various countries, together with the ILO, we are advancing the rights of domestic workers based on the recent ILO Convention on Domestic Workers. It is regularly observed that what is not counted does not count. This is why we are also supporting various countries in Latin America to undertake youth service to unveil women's real contribution to their economies and support governments in integrating social protection and care work into their macroeconomic policies. These are just a few of the examples of the kind of change we can make in the lives of women and girls worldwide. And together with other UN organizations, UN Women, as the Secretary just mentioned, delivering as one, is working to strengthen the accountability and capacity of the UN system to deliver better development outcomes to women and girls. And one key area is strengthening the focus and investment on gender mainstreaming across the system. So together with FAO, IFAD, and WFP, we are preparing a joint program on accelerating progress towards the economic empowerment of rural women. The 4 agencies will pull together their commitment, resources, and experience to make long-lasting changes to the life of rural women, addressing both the legal bottlenecks to their access to resources, services, and skills, and enhancing their production potential and access to markets. Excellencies, distinguished guests, this year's Commission of the Status of Women focuses on the priority theme, the empowerment of rural women and their role in poverty and hunger eradication, development, and current challenges. While rural women account for a large proportion of the agricultural labor force, produce the majority of food grown, especially in subsistence farming, and perform most of the unpaid care work, their contribution is often not recognized and their voices are not heard at decision-making levels within governments and rural organizations. Globally, and with only a few exceptions, rural women fare worse than rural men and urban women and men for every MDG indicator for which data is available. Rural women and girls have restricted access to productive resources such as land, agricultural inputs, finance and credit, extension services and technology, which in turn limits agricultural output. They also face more difficulty than their male counterparts in gaining access to public services, social protection, employment opportunity, and local and national markets and institutions due to cultural norms and security issues. Unpaid care work further hampers their ability to take advantage of on and off-farm employment and new market opportunities. So now it is time to expand rural women's political participation and economic empowerment. You all have heard this so many times, but it's always good to remember that according to the FAO, if rural women had equal access, not more access, equal access to productive resources, agricultural yields will rise and there will be 100 million to 150 million fewer hungry people. So we need effective strategic policy and programmatic responses to build the asset base of rural women, improve their access to resources and services, expand their opportunities to diversify their production, increase their productivity, and facilitate their access to high-value products markets. Ad hoc interventions are not enough. The broader policy environment must be responsive to the rights and needs of rural women and girls. We need comprehensive measures that address structural constraints to rural women's economic empowerment at all levels. And it is my hope that this year's Commission will lead to strong action and accountability to advance the rights, opportunities, and participation of rural women. Rural women and girls cannot and should not be expected to continue waiting. Thank you very much.